Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines. At least 14 people, including a firefighter, have been killed, while more than a dozen sustained burns in a major fire that ripped through a housing estate in Hong Kong's Tai Po district. The blaze spread across 7 blocks of Wang Fuk Court, with thick black smoke rising over the area. Officials say residents were trapped as flames moved through bamboo scaffolding. The fire chief says extreme heat has stopped teams from reaching upper floors, but says they will keep trying. Britain's Finance Minister, Rachel Reeves, has told the House of Commons that the government is rebuilding the economy as she unveiled a budget built on higher taxes that will raise more than £26 billion a year by 2030. Reeves told lawmakers that the plan builds on earlier moves to cut NHS waiting lists, ease living costs, and reduce debt. The Office for Budget Responsibility accidentally posted the plan online early, calling it a technical error. The measures include freezing income tax thresholds through 2031, a new annual tax on homes worth over £2 million, and higher duties on gambling. A mileage charge for electric cars starts in 2028, while fuel duty stays frozen. Russian President Vladimir Putin says the US understands the complexity of reaching a peace deal in Ukraine. Speaking in Bishkek with Belarus's Alexander Lukashenko ahead of a CSTO summit, he gave few details on talks with Washington. But the Kremlin confirmed that President Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff will visit Moscow next week, as Kiev signals it is ready to advance the US-backed framework and discuss disputed points directly with Trump. US President Donald Trump has backed away from a Thursday deadline for Ukraine to agree to a US-backed peace plan and shrugged off a report that US negotiator Steve Witkoff coached the Russians on how to approach him on the topic. Trump, speaking to reporters on board Air Force One as he flew to Florida for the Thanksgiving holiday, said US negotiators are making progress in discussions with Russia and Ukraine, and Moscow had agreed to some concessions. Trump said his envoy, Steve Witkoff, will be traveling to Moscow to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin next week, and that his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, was also involved. Russian forces have staged a mass drone attack on the southeastern Ukrainian city of Zaporizhia, triggering fires, injuring 19 people, and badly damaging buildings and vehicles. The regional governor, posting on the Telegram messaging app, said the attack destroyed shops and damaged 31 apartment blocks and 20 private homes. He said 8 people were being treated in hospital. Pictures posted online showed firefighters battling blazes at high-rise apartment buildings and gutted vehicles on city streets. The US-backed 28-point peace plan to end the war in Ukraine, which became public last week, has been drawn from a Russian-authored paper submitted to the Trump administration in October. The Russians shared the paper, which outlined Moscow's conditions for ending the war, with senior US officials in mid-October, following a meeting between US President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Washington. The paper contained language that the Russian government had previously put forward at the negotiating table. France's highest court has upheld the conviction of former President Nicolas Sarkozy for illegal campaign financing. The ruling confirms his 2024 sentence of 1 year in prison for exceeding the spending limit during his failed 2012 re-election campaign. 6 months of that sentence were suspended and could be served through alternative means, such as wearing an electronic bracelet without going to jail. Nigeria's Kebbi state has reunited 24 abducted schoolgirls with their families. The girls were held for a week after gunmen took them from MAGA community. Officials said the girls were safe and had not been harmed in captivity. The state government thanked security forces for the rescue, while Kebbi's First Lady urged parents not to pull children from school. Authorities in Thailand plan to send helicopters to evacuate critically ill patients from a southern hospital marooned by some of the region's worst floods in years, as the death toll rose to 33, with more rain expected. Floods have swept through 9 Thai provinces and 8 states in neighbouring Malaysia for a second successive year, prompting both countries to evacuate nearly 45,000 people. In Indonesia, 8 to 13 people are estimated dead following floods and landslides this week, while 1 has died in Malaysia. US President Donald Trump has said that he pressed Chinese President Xi Jinping to accelerate and increase Beijing's purchases of US goods during a phone call. And the Chinese leader more or less agreed. The US president told reporters aboard Air Force One that he told Xi he'd like him to buy it a little faster and buy more, adding that he's more or less agreed to do that. China has resumed purchases of US soybeans and halted its expanded curbs on rare earths exports, but the pace of purchases had been less than initially expected. Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te has said that he will introduce a $40 billion supplementary defense budget to underscore its determination to defend itself in the face of a rising threat from China. China, which views democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory, has ramped up military and political pressure over the past 5 years to assert its claims, which Taipei strongly rejects. Unveiling the $1.25 trillion Taiwanese dollars package, Lai said history had proven that trying to compromise in the face of aggression brought nothing but enslavement. And the flame for the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics has been lit in Greece. Bad weather forced organisers to hold a scaled-down indoor ceremony inside the Olympia Museum. The flame now begins a week-long relay in Greece before heading to Italy on December 4th for a nationwide journey leading up to the February opening ceremony. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.